Good evening, everyone. This is our third UAE VMUG virtual event, and today's topic is SD-WAN by VeloCloud. And our speaker is Muhsin Moidunny. He is currently working with the Ingram Micro as a senior solution architect. And today we will be discussing completely on the solution of SD-WAN, and he will explain about the different scenarios of deployment. So now we will pass on to Muhsin.
So my name is Muhsin Moidunny. I'm the solution architect for VMware at Ingram Micro. So I'm taking care of the complete pre-sales activities from the sales, not the pre-sales pitching, and to POCs and sometimes post-sales as well for some, end user computing and SD-WAN solution. So I am specializing on EUC, SD-WAN, and SDN, of course. So today's session, we'll be discussing more about VMware SD-WAN by VeloCloud. It was a VeloCloud product and acquired by VMware for 2-3 years, and now they're renamed it to NSX SD-WAN, right? So it's part of the NSX suite. That doesn't mean it will work only with NSX. No, it's a standalone product. Just for the marketing perspective, they name it as NSX SD-WAN. So as we all are, most of us are VMware fanboys, and we are always being excited to welcome the new products and the solution from VMware, right? So this is a recent acquisition, and we can see good growth in the market for the VeloCloud business. And yeah, we have some good clients as well in the market. There are some big names which I don't want to disclose now. So we can see the market is coming towards the SD-WAN solution, and they are changing their hub and spoke connectivity with the SD-WAN solution instead of the traditional firewall. So are you able to see you are able to see my screen, right, Rajesh?
Yeah, this we
You can see the presentation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll be discussing about the WAN digital transformation first, how the VeloCloud SD-WAN can help us the WAN digital transformation. Rajesh, can you mute yourself? Someone is on unmute. And Rajesh, someone is not on mute, and that voice is disturbing us. There are some background noises. Yeah, thank you. So then we will discuss about how to sell SD-WAN, or where are the areas where we can push the SD-WAN, and then we will discuss about the SD-WAN use cases, right? What are the use cases which is suitable with SD-WAN and what are not? And VMware SD-WAN overview and the benefits. What are the advantages when we deploy, or what the VMware SD-WAN differentiate from the competitors, right? And we will look at the deployment architecture and models, and we'll have a short demo of the orchestrator, not the deployment. I can take you through the orchestrator, and I have a device at my home. I think currently it is off. I'm using it for my traffic, the Zoom traffic and all. So we all know the business is conducted in the branch nowadays, right? So for the users at branch side, all our business are happening from the branches, not from the head office. Head office is just a backend system in most of the cases, right? So what we are earning money, or we are conducting the business, is from the branch, right? So accessing the application in the cloud is as important when they are in the legacy data centers, right? So the IoT, mobility, or any massive amount of data demand, so the transportation at the branch side. That means from the branches, we'll be accessing all the data, whether it be on the traditional data center, or data might be, or the application might be on the cloud, let it be public or hybrid clouds. And still, all this data will be accessed from the branch side, right? So if you have all the capacity at the data center and the branches, and if the bottleneck is at the connectivity between the branch and head office, or branch and cloud, there is no point in providing such a ultra dynamic infrastructure to the branch users, correct? So there's no point in providing such a resources to users if the connectivity is poor, right? So in most of the cases, the bottleneck will be at the connectivity side, even it is a branch to the hub to spoke connection, or users to data center connection, or let it be the primary DC to the DRDC connection. We can see the bottleneck at the weak point is the connection from the primary data center to the users, or the users to data center, or data center to the DR site, right? So there should be a solution to resolve this issue with a cost-effective manner, right? So in the coming slides, we'll be discussing how the SD-WAN solution can resolve these challenges. So as we can see, many organizations plan to move, or they already moved to the cloud, right? So with large percentage of them intending to adopt a hybrid or multi-cloud. So you guys know what is the difference between hybrid cloud and multi-cloud, right? The hybrid cloud means it will indoor work with our on-prem solution, right? For an example, VMC on AWS. Just to say that the vMotion enable clouds, right? So from our data center, we can migrate using HCX or something else. We can migrate the virtual machines from our on-prem to the cloud, right? So that's we call hybrid cloud. It will either operate with our existing infrastructure, or our on-prem infrastructure with the public cloud, right? So the multi-cloud is different. The multi-cloud means polynymous. We can simply say polynymous. Means poly means multi, simply cloud. That means we'll be having multiple cloud solutions. Like we'll be having, you know, services from Azure. We'll be hosting some services in Azure like Office 365, Azure AD and all. And for the Linux machines, we might be depending on the AWS, and there is no interconnectivity between this cloud, right? So that we call multi-cloud. And of course, the SaaS application, we all know, we are familiar with the Office 365 or Salesforce and all. So these are SaaS applications. So most of the organization have adapted, I would say the 90% of them must have adopted the SaaS, and the remaining with the hybrid or multi-cloud solutions, right? So there should be a connectivity where a cost-effective and a cost-effective way to connect to this SaaS or any multi-cloud or hybrid cloud environment, right? So we can't depend on an MPLS lane, the traditional MPLS lane to connect to the cloud resources, right? Yes, if your applications are hosted in your data center, yeah, you can depend on the MPLS connection. But the business is changing now. The trend is changing. Everything is being moved to cloud. So we can't use an MPLS connection here. And there are some other alternatives like express route and all, which is very costly for us to afford. Most of the organization cannot afford the price of this express route and all, right? So these are the main drawbacks of the traditional the WAN infrastructure, right? It is too complex and slow operations. Like if we are talking about an MPLS network, the time to set up an MPLS network is like 4 or 5 weeks. If you are opening a new, branch site or a new center, so it will take more than a month to set up the MPLS connection and make it working. So the deployment it will take more than 1 month. Still, it's not an easy to manage and optimize this connection, right? And the operation is pretty slow when we compare to the normal broadband, right? The another pain point is expensive to scale the bandwidth, right? So this rigidity of legacy system also make them too expensive to maintain on day two or day one to day two operations, right? We need an expert. We need an expert to manage this MPLS lanes, right? If there is any troubleshooting required, we may not be able to do it ourselves. We'll need a SP, someone with SP level knowledge to resolve the issue with the MPLS lanes, right? The another point is poor application performance for the cloud services. For an example, if the customer have hosted something on the cloud, and they are using the traditional MPLS network to backhaul the traffic to the data center, and it will be going to the cloud in most of the cases, right? So it will affect the performance of the application, and still it will making lots of backhaul traffic for the cloud services, right? So the another threat is the security problem or the security threats. So the legacy systems are very prone to the security risk as well, right? So the problem is we might have installed a Cisco SR router or some CPEs and PEs to establish the MPLS connection, and or let it be broadband as well or ADSL as well. Or we'll be using any ADSL router, any Cisco router or any other third-party router, and we don't upgrade the firmware of the router, because we are afraid that if we upgrade the firmware of the router, the services may go down or the device may go down. So we don't upgrade it, and it is open to it is exposed to the security threats, right? So that is the one of the biggest security threat at the edge level, right? So we had discussed about the challenges of traditional WAN network, right? Now we will discuss how we can overcome these challenges using SD-WAN technology and practices. So what is SD-WAN? So you guys might have about the SD-WAN solutions, right? You are already working on the SD-WAN. We have some experts on SD-WAN in our group, fortunately, right? So I know some of them are the SD-WAN expert as well. So the SD-WAN means is a virtual WAN architecture that allows the enterprise to leverage any combination of traffic, right? So what it will do, it will create an overlay. The SD-WAN will create an overlay, right? So Rajesh, can you see a mark on my screen?
Yeah, there is a mark.
Oh, okay. 1 second, give me a minute. I don't know how does this happen. Let me reshare it, so I can avoid this. I'm not able to erase it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes a difference. Anyway.
It's better now, right?
Yeah, now it's perfect.
Yeah. So what the SD-WAN is doing, so using all the underlay connections. The underlay connections means the all type of internet connections, right? You might be having an MPLS connection. You might be having a broadband or LTE connection, VSAT, whatever it would be. So we can create a overlay by combining all these connection, any type of connections, right? So we can bond all this connection and we can create a fat pipe, right? Just like the WAN optimizers do. So we can create a fat pipe and our traffic will be passing through this fat pipe. But unlike the normal WAN optimizers, we have features more than that, right? So we will be discussing in the coming slides. So what I mean to say, the SD-WAN is a virtual WAN architecture. So it is combination of the different type of transport services. It's including MPLS, LTE, broadband, VSAT, anything, any type of WAN connection, right? So in some of our devices, we have the ability to insert LTE SIM card directly. So you don't have to even use a USB modem to connect the LTE to the router or the edge. You can simply insert the SIM card to the device itself. So we will discuss this. So what it is doing, it is decoupling the management and control plane. So if we are talking about a normal router, the management and control plane, built into the same devices, right? But in the case of SD-WAN, we are decoupling these services. So management plane will be the orchestrator and control plane will be the edges, right? So we'll be decoupling it. So now we will check about the market trend of SD-WAN. These are some global numbers and I don't want to stick to these numbers. I will be specific to our region. So we can see as a distributor. So we are the distributor for VeloCloud here, and we have another distributors as well, of course. So as a distributor, we can see very good demand coming from the partners and end customers as well. And yes, VMware have the VeloCloud team have deployed so many, they did so many deployments in UAE. They have very good number of customers. They are very good, brands as well. So we can see that trend coming in the Middle East as well, and even Saudi, especially in Saudi and UAE, right? So the market is behind SD-WAN, and SD-WAN is, it's too fascinating, I would say. So the customer came to know the benefits of this SD-WAN. It is very easy for them to manage as well, right? So they don't have to get hardcore training on any network topologies or any network core networking. So if they have an IT user or the IT support who understand the basic TCP and IP, he can manage the SD-WAN solution from the orchestrator. It is simple as that. There is no CLI, there is nothing. So when the customer is also, come towards the SD-WAN solution, especially with the VeloCloud. So these are some numbers. So in 2021, the market will reach 8 billion as per the forecast. We don't know what will happen in the coming years as per the current pandemic situation, but still hope for the best, and let's hope for the best, and that will be good for all of us, right? So I'm not talking about the numbers here. I would say these are most of the marketing stuff, and I would like to skip it. If you want to explain this marketing stuff, I will be happy to do that. So most of the use case, as you can see, it mentioned that 248 million desktop video conferencing users and 79% of global internet traffic is video in 2020, right? But it was before this corona. Now 90% of traffic is going through the video, right? There is no face-to-face meeting. All the video, all the meetings are through any like Zoom or any other application like Teams or Zoom, and it is using such video protocols, or it might be using any VoIP protocols, right? So this number, I am sure that we already overcome this number. We already, more than this number, right? So there should be some solution for this, service providers as well. If we are using some service from any service provider, so when we are talking about their WAN infrastructure, they also need a solution where they can scale as per the demand, right? So it should be software defined if you want to scale the infrastructure on demand. So we can see that trend with the service provider as well. There are few service providers already signed with VeloCloud, and they already started working on hosting the components locally here in the UAE market. So Do is one of the service provider who is working here. I mean, they already adopted the VeloCloud SD-WAN, and they are one of the service provider for VeloCloud in Middle East, the UAE. So these are the main sales triggers, okay, where we can pitch the SD-WAN solution. Let it be VeloCloud or any other SD-WAN solution. And the first one is cloud adopters. So as we discussed, so whenever you have your application hosted on cloud and you want a seamless connection to the cloud, a reliable connection in a cost-effective manner, still you can't depend on the MPLS, right? MPLS cannot, reach the cloud. So you'll have to go either for an SD-WAN solution or an expensive express route solution, kind of express route solution. So that is one of the pitch point for us. The next thing is new application rollout. So whenever there is any hub and spoke applications, like the application will be hosted in a central data center and everyone will be accessing from the branches. I'll give you an example for this. We have pitched a opportunity on the new application rollout. One of the healthcare leader in Middle East, so they rolled out an application. So what it will have, it will contain the details of all users in UAE, every person in UAE. So they will be having the file of all persons in UAE. So whenever we go to a doctor, let it be in Aster or any other hospital, they will be accessing your file from this application. So they will mark they will do some remarks. They will update the information with your current situation and the current health. They will update with your medical prescription. The second time when we go to any other clinic or hospital, they will be also accessing the same file, right? So there will be no case of overlapping or missing the important information about our health. So this kind of application, I just gave you an example. So this kind of application, which work in a hub and spoke manner. So this is one of another opportunity. The next thing is, of course, CPE upgrade. If the customer is planning to upgrade their existing outdated routers, or let it be UTMs or the normal routers. So that's another opportunity for us. And of course, the new greenfield opportunity. If there is any new business setting up, and we can propose this. And when contract renewal, excuse me, yeah. So in the case of WAN contract renewals, like we are referring the MPLS here, right? So if someone is not happy with the price of the MPLS and they want to replace it with a cost-effective and reliable solution, then we can propose the VeloCloud SD-WAN solution there as well. So let's talk about the SD-WAN use cases. So the first use case is branch networking modernization. So that means in every 3 to 5 years we'll have to replace or upgrade the I would say replace the CPEs in the branches, right? That is the ideal scenario. So we'll be replacing the CPEs in the branches every 3 to 5 years. So at the time of modernization, like if they are using a normal router for the internet connectivity and they don't want to invest for any costly UTM solution, so this will be one of the use case they can adopt the SD-WAN, the cheaper SD-WAN solution and cheaper but reliable SD-WAN solution, right? The second option is WAN transport modernization. So the organization need to increase the agility of network, right, to the deployment to utilize the broadband links for access to the application in the cloud, right? Of course, they can't use the traditional point-to-point or the MPLS line to access the cloud service, as we already discussed so many times. So the SD-WAN provides direct access to the cloud. We will discuss it, how the SD-WAN will help the cloud adopters in the coming slides. And they can use, so in the normal case, we'll be using single type of WAN connection. So we'll be using a router for the MPLS and we'll be using another router for the broadband, right? But in this case, we can use the same device to terminate all type of connection, and we can create a bond of the connection, bond of all the connection, right? We can, as I said, we can create a fat pipe by combining all these connection. And another option is cloud adoption and transition. So we will discuss in the coming slides how the cloud adoption, how SD-WAN could help the cloud adoption and transition. And of course, the application performance. So by avoiding the backhauling traffic to the data center, right? So if any branch is trying to access the cloud services, if there are no UTMs at the branch site, of course, and if there are no security measures at the branch side, there will be backhauling traffic to the data center, right? So there will be backhauling traffic to data center, then it will be going to the internet or the cloud, right? So we can avoid that and we can guarantee the application performance, right? So that is another use case. And edge compute and IoT. So you know how the edge computing works or the IoT works, right? There will be sensors in all the branches. So that's how IoT works. These sensors will talk to the service engines in the cloud. So we need a good, cost-effective and reliable connectivity options to enable the connectivity between these sensors and service engines. So that is another use case. And of course, and the last, the simplified WAN operations. When you deploy a WAN connection, we don't have good, visibility over the WAN connection. So we don't know what's happening over the WAN connection. What is the packet drop of the WAN connection? If there is any jitter or are we losing something on the WAN connection? We don't have any visibility over the WAN connection in the normal case. But that's not the case with VMware SD-WAN or the SD-WAN solutions, right? So we'll have the complete visibility over all type of WAN connection. So it will keep measuring all the links connected to the SD-WAN or the edges, right? So if you have a broadband connection and if you have an MPLS connection, or you might be having two broadband connection from different service providers, or you might be having an LTE connection. So it will measure the connections, it will measure the links all the time, it will keep checking the health, and we can also see the health of this connection and the top users, top talking users, and the top destination, which protocol the consuming the top most data and all. So we'll have a complete visibility over the WAN, our WAN infrastructure. So now let's talk about VMware SD-WAN and its advantages over the other competitive SD-WAN solutions. So VMware SD-WAN by VeloCloud is a cloud-delivered solution for network operators, for of course for all the enterprises, right? It's a cloud delivered solution. That means the management portal and some control plane also, the management plane and some control plane also residing in the cloud, right? So only the data plane, it will be on the edges, the boxes, let it be physical boxes or virtual boxes. So it's a completely cloud delivered. If there are any organization which is not cloud friendly due to some compliance issues, so we have multiple options for that. Like we can host it with a service provider. So as you can see the orchestrator on the top. So that is the management plane of the complete solution. So in most of the cases, it will be hosted by VMware in any AWS cloud. And the edges on the left side, it is SD-WAN edges, that is the CPE, let it be physical or virtual. On the right side, it is the hub, the data center. So we'll be using the normal edges and it will act as a hub. So in this case, we have two components on the cloud, right? The orchestrator and the cloud gateways. We will discuss about the cloud gateways in the upcoming slide. So what I mean to say, it is a completely cloud delivered solution. So, but don't worry if any customers are not cloud friendly and they don't want to host anything on the cloud. So we can deploy all these components on-prem as well. So I'll explain how the traffic works here. The VMware SD-WAN orchestrator, it will be managing all the edges and the hubs and cloud gateways as well. So the cloud gateway means it will be a middleman between the Sass or IaaS solution providers and our VMware SD-WAN Edge branches. So what it will do whenever we try to access the cloud services, we will be accessing the cloud services through the VeloCloud SD-WAN gateway. So we'll be creating an SD-WAN tunnel to VeloCloud gateways, which is hosted near to or in the same data center of the Azure or AWS. So we have 1,000 plus ports, I believe, which is hosted near to the data center. So it will be an optimized route as well. So we'll be accessing this SaaS or IaaS service using this cloud gateway. So we'll be establishing a SD-WAN connectivity to the cloud gateways. From the cloud gateway, we have optimized route to these service providers. So we will discuss the same in the coming slide. This is the last year, I think it was released on October 2019, the Magic Quadrant report. So still VMware is leading the report, leading the market, right? So like the last year also VMware was leading the market. So I mean to say that VeloCloud was leading the market after the acquisition by VMware, right? But there is a small difference in the report. It's not a small difference. So Cisco was just behind VMware, and now you can see the position of Cisco in this, right? So Cisco, the product of, I think it is Viptela, the SD-WAN offering from Cisco is Viptela, and they have Meraki as well. Now they started concentrating on Meraki. So that's why they are far behind now. It's VMware, and we can see the Fortinet is rising. Like they have some UTM solution, and that's why they are rising like anything. So it's not up to the great position now. Still they are good in their times. So let's discuss about the components of VMware SD-WAN solution. We'll discuss about the first component, which is the management plane. So we call it VMware SD-WAN orchestrator. So it's a multi-tenant cloud-based portal. Okay, so we'll be managing all the edges and cloud gateways from this orchestration portal. We don't do anything locally, right? So what happened in the case of normal firewalls? We'll be accessing the firewall GUI locally, and we have to do all the configuration. We have to create the IP sector. Yeah, I know there are some centralized management portal for the this UTMs as well, but it's not it's not a completely cloud delivered solution. So I have worked with Fortinet before, so I know that. So this is the orchestrator, which is hosted in cloud, and it will be managing the complete infrastructure, right? The edges, the cloud gateways, even the traditional data center which do not have any edges. So it will be the management plane, which is hosted and managed by VMware. In some cases, it can be hosted at the customer premise as well upon the request of the customer. And of course, there are some charges associated with the PS charges. And the another option to host the VMware SD-WAN orchestrator is if you are a service provider, like if you are providing this kind of MPLS or any the WAN services, if you are a service provider, you can host your own orchestrator. So it's a multi-tenant solution. You can create tenants for multiple customers, right? So that's the option. So another one is VMware SD-WAN gateways with controllers, right? So these are also multi-tenant gateways. So these are some components which will be hosted in the cloud, right? So we have multiple use for this cloud. The gateways. The first option is to access the cloud services, of course the Sass or IaaS services. The another option is if you have a data center or a site without the SD-WAN edge, and you are using the traditional firewall and you are using the IPsec for the connectivity, and still you want to keep the same data center part of this SD-WAN solution. So what you can do, you can host a gateway maybe in that data center or somewhere else, and you can create, if you host the cloud gateway in somewhere else or in the cloud, you can create an IPsec tunnel to that traditional data center, right? So it will be part of this chain, and we can start managing that data center WAN infrastructure as well. So the another use of the cloud gateways are to utilize the cloud services to reach the cloud services from the branches. So these cloud gateways are strategically located in top tier ports worldwide. The ports means the location just near to the the data centers, right? The service providers data center, let it be Azure, AWS, Alibaba, or IBM Cloud as well. So these are managed by and operated by VMware or its SP partners, right? So customer do not have to worry about the cloud gateways. They just need to pay for the cloud gateways and start getting the services. So the last component is the VMware SD-WAN Edge. So this is the CPE. So it's like a router to be, if we are talking about the layman word, it's like a router. So it is the edge device, the CPE device, which will be hosted at the customer premise at each branches, right? If the customer have the ability to host it as a virtual machine, if they have some hypervisors and they are capable of using it as a VNF, that's also possible. So we have physical and virtual options for this. So the deployment, we have the deployment flexibility, right? So we can host it as a physical, the normal boxes, which is produced by VeloCloud and Dell as well. Dell also started producing the VMware SD-WAN boxes, the higher model. The normal models are still producing by the VeloCloud. And we have another option. If you are aware about the VNFs, most of us know what is VNF, the virtual network functions. And so if you are planning to host any VNF service in your branches, the VeloCloud edges, some of the edges have the capability to host VNF services. We will discuss that part later. We have details in the upcoming slides. So do we have any questions, or we will address the questions at the end? Rajesh, do you want me to address the questions on the fly?
We can address all the questions in the end of the session.
Okay, perfect. So these are the main features the customer benefits from the VeloCloud SD-WAN solution, right? So it's the simplified day 0 to 1 operations. So there is something called zero touch provisioning, all right? So that means if you have 100 plus branches, if the customer is having 100 plus branches, what usually will happen? You have to do a truck roll to all these 100 branches, right? For an example, you are delivering a UTM project for these 100 branches. You have to send your IT person. You have to send not just IT person, the expert, the UTM expert to all the branches to deploy these devices, right? So that's not the case with VeloCloud SD-WAN solution. We have something called the exclusive feature called zero touch provisioning. So it's like we can create a profile in the orchestrator. Okay, so we will select the branch, we will name the branch, and we will create a profile. We can use the template as well. So we can use the same template for the 100 branches, and we will be just changing the VLAN details, right? VLAN details, and of course the WAN details. So let it be PPOE. Let's talk about the WAN. So in the profile, there is an option to provide the WAN information. So let it be PPOE, DHCP, or static IP. So just enter the details there. If it is PPOE or static IP, just enter the details there and just ship the box. You don't have to open the box even. You can simply ship the box to the customer premise. Ask the user to connect the network cable to the WAN port. So it would be by default maybe port number 1 or 2 for the WAN. So ask the user, it's not mandatory that he should be an IT user. The normal user who can connect the power cable and the network cable and he can connect to the Wi-Fi, he can do this. So just connect the power, connect the internet cable to the WAN port, and once he turn on the VeloCloud Edge device, he can see an SSID called VeloCloud Wi-Fi or VC Wi-Fi. Just connect to that Wi-Fi. So as an administrator, I will send him an activation email from the orchestration portal. So he will receive an activation email with some XML file. It's an XML configuration which will be pushed to the edge. So once he is connected to that SSID and click this URL, so it will push the basic information for the internet to the VeloCloud edge. So once the VeloCloud edge receives the information for internet connectivity, the basic internet connectivity, then it will pull the remaining configuration from the orchestrator. So that's what we call zero-touch function. And of course, it have the global WAN visibility. We are talking about the day 2 operations. So, or day 1 or day 2 operations. Like if you want to apply some policies, so you can use the templates or you can use some profiles. So you don't have to create, multiple policies for each branches. Create a single policy or create 2 or more policies, apply to the profile or the set of profiles. So you can apply the common policies to all the 100 branches at the same time. And we'll be having the global level WAN visibility. So from the same console, the cloud orchestrator console, you can manage and monitor all the edges, like not just the health of the edges. We can see all the traffic, the status of the traffic, of course, the link quality of the WAN links, and the top users, top destination, the normal, WAN things. So this is the orchestration portal. We will have a demo of this. So I'm just going through this slide. So as you can see the global visibility. If you check this one, I will use a pointer here. If you check this one, you can see all the location, the edges in all the location in a geo map, right? So you can understand that which edge is down or which edge is having some critical issues. So it will be marked in amber or red light. So it will be easier for a SOC or NOC team to, identify the issue easier. And if you go through all the reports, all the dashboards, on the right side, top right side, it is VROPS, I believe. It is not VeloCloud. It is not VeloCloud orchestrator. It is VROPS, I think. So you can see the top tokens, the top devices, the top destination, the type of traffic. What is the type of traffic? It is Office 365, whether it is TCP or UDP. So you have the complete visibility over your WAN connection from all your 100 branches. So the next thing is assured application performance. We have something called DMP, or Dynamic Multipath Optimization. It's a proprietary protocol or feature of VeloCloud, VMware VeloCloud. So what DMPO provides, it provides automated link monitoring and detection of any errors or any brown or blackouts with the line. So if it identifies, just imagine if we have 2 lines, I have one broadband line and an LTE line. So I'll be using broadband lane all the time as I have limited data on my LTE SIM card. So I have a capped SIM card. So I'll be using broadband all the time. So, but if anything happened to the broadband, I was on a void call or I was on a VMUG session presenting something and I had a brownout on my broadband connection. So it will steer the packet immediately to the LTE connection, right? That's what DMPO will do. So it will keep monitoring both links. And it's a sub-second steering. So it's not a flow-based steering, it is packet-based steering, dynamic per packet steering. So the advantage is we will not feel any difference in the quality unless the LTE have the good signal, of course. The end customer will not feel they had a brownout. And if they, of course, they have multiple links. Still, if they have a single link, we have something called forward error correction. We are utilizing that protocol or that terminology, forward error correction, to mitigate the, packet drops and jitters as well. So these are just example how VMware Cloud, I would say this is a marketing stuff, but the quality of experience is same as this. So this might be a real case. So without SD-WAN, which is in blue, and with SD-WAN, which is in red. So I have experience in personal. I'm not doing any marketing here. So I have an edge here at my home. It is VeloCloud 520, I believe. I got it from VMware. So I'm using it for all of my Zoom meetings. So I have felt that difference while my wife was watching. I was asked her to watch some ultra HD content on Netflix. So she was eating up my complete bandwidth. So I tried to call one of my peer in VMware with the Zoom call, of course the Zoom video, and the experience was very worst. Then I connected the VeloCloud Edge, and I used that Wi-Fi network, and I connected my TV and my both mobile to the VeloCloud Edge. Then I prioritized my Zoom traffic. So I'll get priority over the Netflix traffic. She was still watching the Ultra HD content video on Netflix, and I was I was talking to my peer in VMware seamlessly. And of course, she might be facing some degradation in her quality because I was setting up the complete bandwidth. Not the complete bandwidth, the bandwidth which is adequate for me. So this is one of the another marketing stuff the VMware always, present when they are talking about DMPO in action. So it's a true case, in fact. So at 2% of packet loss can very badly affect your video conferencing experience, right? So using DMPO with multiple lanes or a single line up to an extent, we can resolve these issues or the challenges using DMPO. So it will be, as I said, it will be doing the dynamic per packet steering. So if there is any issue with my broadband connection, it will steer my packet to another available link. And as I said, we can create smart policies. As I did, I created a smart policy for my Zoom meeting. So I got the priority over other, productive usage like Netflix and PSN and all. So we have inbuilt list signature of 3,000 plus applications. So it is simpler for us to create the policy. Like most of the productive applications are already listed in this orchestrator. So if you want to prioritize your Office 365 traffic, simply prioritize, just create a policy. The source will be my laptop or my complete network. I want to access Office 365 without any issue. That means I need the high priority, the real-time priority. And it should be using the DMPO technology. It should not be break out to the internet directly. It should use the DMPO, and it should go through the tunnel, the cloud gateways tunnel. So of course we will get the better experience. So the advantage of this method of signature is, and it is getting increased, right, with each updates. So the advantage is you don't have to mention the IP address. You don't have to create a list of IP address and ports for these applications. Instead of that, you can simply, like an L7, you can simply select the application or select the set of applications, select the category of the applications. If you select, collaboration, it will select all the applications like Blue Jeans, Link, that means Teams now, or Zoom, anything. So we have that level of flexibility while selecting the smart policies. Then the cloud adoption. Let's talk about the cloud adoption. This is an exclusive feature which is available only with VeloCloud networks, right? So some other providers are also providing, the cloud gateways, but it is a DIY approach. You have to deploy your own edges in AWS or Azure from Azure Marketplace or AWS Marketplace, right? In our case, what we have 100 or 1,000, I think 100 plus POPs all around the world. Not 100, I'll give you the exact number. So we have POPs all around the world near to these AWS or Azure data centers. So whenever one user is trying to access the cloud resources or any SaaS applications or any IaaS application from his branch, it will establish a connection to the nearest cloud gateway. For an example, he is using Azure data center, which is hosted in Frankfurt. So it will choose the Frankfurt cloud gateway, which is hosted in Frankfurt, which is near to that data center with the lesser latency. Then we'll be establishing a connection to this cloud gateway. It should be an SD-WAN tunnel. Then from that cloud gateway, we'll be having an optimized route to the data center, AWS or Azure data center. These are strategic tie-up with Azure and AWS with VMware. So what are the advantages of using this? We can directly access these cloud resources, right? So by using this method, we can use the DMPO technology here, right? So the Zoom is hosted in cloud, or the even Microsoft Teams is hosted in cloud, right? So what we can do, we can utilize this DMPO technology to reach the cloud. If there is any issue with a single link, it will steer the packets to another available link, and we don't feel any packet drop or brownout condition, and we can seamlessly continuing our work. So you may ask, this feature is available with other service provider or other competitors as well, like Cisco or so. In that case, what will happen? They have to deploy their own virtual edge in Azure or AWS. So they can download it from the marketplace and they have to deploy it themselves. They have to create the subnetworks. They have to establish the IPsec tunnel or the SD-WAN tunnel. So it is a do it yourself approach, and I don't call it pure SD-WAN. So the SD-WAN means all the service should be cloud delivered. It shouldn't be doing by ourselves, but there should be a provision to do it by ourselves, and VMware is also providing that approach as well, that option as well. You can do it yourself as well if you want, if you are not ready to pay for the cloud gateways, of course. So what are the advantages of this? Low latency, of course. So we'll be using the optimized route from the service cloud gateways to the Azure or AWS data center. That means the low latency. And there is no data center backhaul, right? No connection is coming to our data center just to do this security filtering. And we have the inbuilt firewall, layer 7 firewall in the VeloCloud edge. And if you want, enhanced features, you can integrate it with any firewall solution. Like you can host any firewall VNF on top of VeloCloud edge. We will come to that part later. And assured performance. The first of all, simplicity. I forgot to mention that the simplicity. There is no MXN, dual end provisioning, right? You don't have to configure the branch first, and you have to deploy a virtual machine at the Azure. That's not required here. We can use the service gateway. Just establish the tunnel. That is just toggling a menu button. You don't have to write the code. You don't have to set the pre-shared key. You don't have to make sure that the subnets are correct. There is no issue in the subnet mask or CIDR value is correct. That's not the case here. It is VMware. Everything is easy here, right? The life is easy here. So just toggle the button, enable the connectivity, start using the cloud services. It is simple as that. So these are the architecture which we discussed now. So what will happen, it will create an SD-WAN. Of course, it is based on IPsec, and VMware is also using our own proprietary protocol called VCMP, and the port number is 2426. So it will create an SD-WAN tunnel to the service gateway over broadband internet. Then from that service gateway, we will be having an optimized route to the SaaS or IaaS providers. This is the architecture for reference. So this will be advisable for, I think Rajesh might have done this before for the VMC on AWS, right? So if you have any hybrid cloud, or if you have any DR site as a VMC on AWS in the cloud, you can use this. You can use this to, use the vSphere replication or to utilize the complete features of SRM, not the features of SRM. We can leverage this SD-WAN solution to ease the replication, and it will be a better experience. So as I said, we have, the number is correct, the 100 plus POPs, and it is getting increased. And VMware is working on, hosting some cloud gateways in Middle East as well. So near to the Azure, of course, the Azure data center. And we have 60 plus orchestrator. Then as of now, the nearest one is in Frankfurt. And yes, we have some service providers. They already started working on hosting the orchestrator in UAE. And we have 2000 plus gateways, the cloud and normal service provider gateways. So it can be used for the cloud adoption, or it can be used for the normal connectivity as well. If in case in any of the branch, if you don't have any edges, you can use the gateways to establish the connectivity to your core data center. Now let's talk about the security part of this. So we have something called segmentation of the traffic. So you can create multiple segments, just like VRFs. So so we can create multiple segments, and this segment will not talk to each other, right? This will be isolated in the transist as well by using this DMPO tunnel, right? So we are not sending directly over the internet, or we are not just creating an IPsec tunnel. We are creating an SD-WAN tunnel based on IPsec, and we are keeping this segmentation till we reach the destination, right? So if you have any corporate network and you have some guest network, or at the retail, in the case of retail, you might be having corporate network to access the CRM and all, and you have a PCI network to transfer the POS information or the credit card information. So you can segment this traffic within that tunnel. So it will be segmented in the transist as well. So till it reaches the destination, it will be processed at the destination. It will be still at the different segments. So it is PCI compliance as well. Of course, it's an add-on feature. The PCI compliance is an add-on feature which customer have to pay for that. These are some security standards of all the components. The orchestrator is TLS 1.2 with SHA-256 encryption, and we can integrate it with Radius for multi-factor authentication, of course, and we can integrate it with any SIM solution. And about the service gateways, it is hosted in tier 4 data centers, of course, and we have dedicated, the VMware have dedicated NOC team for 24/7 monitoring. And the edges, these are the standard for edges. So this SD-WAN tunnel is encrypted with IPsec. Of course, it is based on IPsec, and we are creating an SD-WAN overlay on top of that. And we have PCI and GDPR compliant. So if any customer is looking for PCI compliance, and they are planning for an MPLS or a dedicated lane to traverse their PCI traffic, we can propose our SD-WAN solution here, because this is the only SD-WAN solution with PCI compliance certificate, right? These are the security service insertion option. For an example, as I said, the VeloCloud SD-WAN, it's a pure SD-WAN solution. It's not a UTM, right? So sometimes the customer may ask for a complete solution like UTM. I need firewall, I need IPS and IDS, or I need the enhanced filtering options, the web or application filtering options. So the SD-WAN edges are capable of only layer 7 firewalling, the URL and application filtering, of course. So because it is not meant for that, right? It is not built for, as a normal firewall. It's a pure SD-WAN solution. Still, we can intercooperate with these service vendors. Like if you are a Palo Alto customer, your customer is a Palo Alto, they are using Palo Alto products, and they want to use Palo Alto virtual products, the virtual firewalls at their branches. We have something called VeloCloud Edge V models, the VNF model, which is capable of hosting the VNF. So within that model, you can use this SD-WAN for the connectivity part, and for firewalling, if they are not happy with the default layer 7 firewall of SD-WAN, we can host Palo Alto, Checkpoint, or even Fortinet as a VNF on top of this. Another option, if the customer's requirement is only filtering, the web filtering, they just want to filter the traffic, still we have the layer 7 URL or application filtering, but still they are looking for an enhanced way of filtering, we can integrate it with Zscaler or Symantec cloud firewalls. So what it will do, just like we created a tunnel to the service gateway, the edge will create a tunnel to Zscaler or Symantec servers, right? So Zscaler is hosted by Etisalat here. So Etisalat is providing Zscaler service. So it will create we'll talk about Zscaler here. So if the customer is looking for a web security or filtering, we can use the Zscaler web firewall or the cloud firewall. So we'll be creating a tunnel from the branch edge to the Zscaler cloud firewall. So whenever the user trying to access any website, the traffic will be going to Zscaler first, then it will break out from Zscaler after all the filtering. So these are the form factors of the components. The first of all, VMware SD-WAN Edge. So it's not a SaaS offering. It's an appliance based. It's a physical appliance, or it's a virtual appliance as well. It can be virtual appliance. It can be hosted on Azure, AWS, or any cloud. It can be hosted on your vSphere infrastructure. It can be integrated with our NSX infrastructure as well. And another option is SD-WAN Edge Services platform. So like you can use it as a VNF platform to host these VNF services, right? Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Fortinet as of now. So we are still working with other vendors to get the the VNF appliances, or for the strategic diodes, of course. And the advantage is you don't have to install any images to the VeloCloud edges. If you are planning to use Palo Alto, you don't have to upload the VNF image or something like that. You just need to select the option, it is VNF. So which VNF I want, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, or Fortinet. Select the Palo Alto, Checkpoint, or Fortinet, select your VNF, enter the IP address of your management plane. In the case of Palo Alto, it is Prisma, I believe. Enter the management plane of enter the IP address of Prisma, so it can be managed from the Prisma itself, right? So you don't have to upload any images. So it's already built into the VeloCloud edges. And of course, you can host it on any vSphere infrastructure or any other VNF platforms, or the VNF platforms offering by any other vendors, like Dell is also providing VNF platforms. So you can host it as a virtual machine or a VNF. So as we discussed, we have a layer 7 firewall, right? So we have a layer 7 firewall. It is stateful session aware. So you can do some basic URL and application filtering using this layer 7 firewall. So you can block some categories of applications, or you can block social media. Yeah, of course, the categories. And if you have any particular website which is not listed in the categories, so you can use IP address and port to block that connections. So we have already discussed this cloud web security integration with SD-WAN. I'll repeat that again. So if you have any offering from Zscaler or any other cloud firewall, you can simply connect from edges to the cloud firewall. You don't have to do anything to establish the connectivity. Just select that this connection should go through the cloud firewall. Okay, so it will establish a connectivity with the Zscaler server, for an example, Zscaler server, and internet breakout will happen from the Zscaler server. So these are the deployment and architecture models. So VMware SD-WAN Edge, it can be an appliance-based or software-based. It's not a SaaS model. It's not a SaaS service. So neither VMware or service provider can host the VMware edge. It should be at the branches, which is the CPE, right? Or it will be the hub at the data center. So it can be appliance based or it can be software based as virtual machine. The next component, it is gateway. Of course, it's not a physical device. It is software based. We can host our own cloud gateways, or we can utilize the cloud gateways which are hosted by VMware or any other service provider. And finally, orchestrator, which is the management plane. So of course, it's not a physical device again. So it's a software, it's a virtual machine, of course, and we can utilize the virtual machine which is hosted by VMware or any other service providers. So guys, we are wrapping up this session. So do you guys have any questions? So we can check the questions here, Rajesh.
Yeah, there are some questions in the chat. So once we go through all these questions, if somebody want to ask the questions, we can unmute them and they can
Okay.
talk.
Okay, perfect. So I can stop the screen sharing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go through the questions. Yeah, the first question is Cisco Meraki is SD-WAN solution. Yeah, should I answer that? Yeah, Meraki is also providing SD-WAN solution, but it's it's at premature stage. So I would say Cisco Viptela is the complete SD-WAN solution which can compete with the VMware SD-WAN because it is the pure SD-WAN solution. So Cisco Meraki is just like but it is for budget constrained customers, or they don't want all the features. They don't want the complete features, but they just want all the features. I mean to say that, like, they don't use all the features. They are not concerned about the fulfillment of the features. They just want all the features. Like, I want UTM, I want UTM features, I want IPS features, I want IDS features and all. One second. Yeah, so the Cisco Meraki is providing SD-WAN as well. Cisco Meraki is providing wireless as well. So, there is one, what would say, none of jack, master of nothing. What is that? So what's next? For strictly on-premise solution, you mentioned orchestrator and gateway can be installed on site. So of course, so these gateways and orchestrator, right? Orchestrator is the management portal and gateway is a control plane. So this management portal will be, in most of the case, 90% of the case, it will be hosted by VMware. All the edges will be talking to the management portal, the orchestrator, using port number 443. So if the customer is concerned about the security or they want to be on their own premise, we can do it. We can deploy this orchestrator in their premise as well. That is the same case for service gateways as well. Yeah, Pradeep commented that Cisco uses Meraki and Viptela. Yeah, Cisco uses Meraki for the SMBs and Viptela for the enterprises. And we have seen the fall of Viptela in our report, right? The problem is ease of use. I don't say Cisco is a bad product. It's our childhood memory now. The Cisco, it's not a bad product. It's a very good product, but the ease of use is also a main concern here nowadays, right? Anyone can configure a VeloCloud solution, but we need a CCIE level knowledge to configure a Cisco SD-WAN solution. So how VMware sell SD-WAN appliances? Is it through telecom operators or through normal resellers? Of course, it is through normal resellers. It is a separate channel as of now. So if you have VMware partnership, still you have to sign up for VeloCloud partnership as of now. So it will change in the coming months because there are hardware involved in this VeloCloud, and I think this is the first hardware is sold by VMware, if I'm not correct. So of course we are the distributors here. We are one of the distributors here for VeloCloud. So we will be selling to, or we will be giving to all the partners. We have some around 50 plus partners here. So if you are interested in partnership, we can talk. That's not part of this. For the orchestrator, and the next question, for the orchestrator and gateway which is managed by VMware, is it hosted in UAE? And the another question, in case we have restrictions of using cloud that is only hosted in UAE location. Yeah, as of now, there is no orchestrator or cloud gateways is hosted in UAE, but there are some service providers like Do, and there are some other service providers who is working with us, host these components in UAE as well. So would you tell me more about the security options provided by VeloCloud SD-WAN? If you are talking about the firewalling, yes, we have inbuilt L7 firewall, layer 7 firewall. And if you need enhanced firewalling, you can, of course, opt in for the VNF options like Palo Alto. Let it be Fortinet, even we support Fortinet. They are our competitors, still we support Fortinet. That's VMware, right? And we support um, the cloud firewalls as well, the Symantec, Zscaler and all. So I have to jump on another call. It's okay, no problem. Thanks for joining. We are not using any WAN optimization features here. We are using our own proprietary protocol and features like DMPO. So we will be using forward error correction and we are our own proprietary protocols or functions to address these packet drop and jitters. So we have DMPO that will be doing dynamic per packet steering. If anything happened to it, it should not be. It can be a brownout condition or a complete blackout condition. Once the VMware VeloCloud orchestrator identify this, so it will immediately steer the traffic to our next available link. Okay, so DMPO already answered his questions. So does the priority set through segmentation? No, the priority is set through the smart policies. So if you want to prioritize the traffic of productive applications like Teams or Zoom over the Netflix, yeah, you can use the smart policies instead of going. You don't have to use the segmentation feature here. Segmentation is for different purpose to segment the traffic which will be flowing to branch to data center. That will be PCA and corporate traffic. I already explained that, right? So for the priority setting, we'll be using smart applications policies. I can show you that. I can show you in the demo. Any requirement on relying or integrate with NSX. It can be integrated with NSX, but it do not need NSX to work, right? It's a standalone product. Don't confuse with name. It's a marketing stuff. So they have to be make it part of the NSX suite. That's why they named it NSX SD-WAN or VMware SD-WAN. So it do not need the VMware SD-WAN. So it will work as a standalone product. Does it support with Palo Alto firewall? Yes, it support with Palo Alto firewall. We have two options. The first option is a generic option. It will support with all the firewall. It's a it's a design part, right? We can keep it behind the Fortinet. Sorry, I'm keep referring the word Fortinet. I'm sorry about that. So we can keep it behind the firewall, and we can do some port forwarding or one-to-one netting to this device in the head office. And in the branches, we don't have to do any netting because it will be sending out the traffic to the head office, right, to create the tunnel. And yes, it support the Palo Alto as a VNF as well. So we can host the Palo Alto VNF as a firewall on top of the virtual, the VeloCloud Edge. So there are some models like 520V, that is one of the model, so which support the VNF options. So are we expect to share the slide with us? So of course I can share some slides for partners which is meant for the partners. So these are some slides which are contents for the distributor as I'm working with a distributor, right? So I can share the presentation for partners with you. So do we optimize the packets through this segmentation? The question is not clear. What kind of optimization you're asking for, Justin? If you can explain me a bit. I think Justin is
Justin, if
already
you want, I
online.
can unmute you. You can talk if you're okay with that.
Yeah. So I think you have answered that point. It was about the WAN optimizations in these recommendations. What you have it.
Okay. Don't confuse it with WAN optimization. It's a different story, right? So we have segmentation to segment the traffic. Don't confuse with micro segmentation as well. So it is to segment the traffic. Like if you have a branch with corporate and PCA traffic, let it be a retail. So you want to segment the traffic in transit and to the destination as well. So you can use the segmentation here. So about the proxy model deployment. So it's not proxy model deployment. So there are multiple deployment designs. So it depends on the branches. In most of the branches, if they do not have any firewall, okay, it can act as the CPE, the one and only perimeter device. Or if already have physical firewall, we can keep it behind that, and we can do some port forwarding if we are creating tunnel to this branch. Or if you are just creating the tunnel to head office, you don't have to port forward anything. You just keep it behind the firewall, and it will do the SD-WAN function, and firewall will take care of the firewall features. So we are done with the questions. So any further questions, or if you need any further information, or I can share the view of the orchestrator. I won't take more than 5 minutes to present.
One more question. I mean, this controller is a kind of a must component in the deployment. I could see that.
No, it's not a must component. Yeah, so there are separate level of licenses starting from standard, enterprise, and premier. The service gateway, which is available only with the premier license. But if you are looking to host a service gateway, okay, for to manage the traditional data center without any edge, that's also possible with the service gateway, not just for the cloud on ramping. So it is optional. You don't have to use it for all the purpose. If your case is just hub and spoke connectivity, then you can go for the standard or the enterprise license. If your case is cloud adoption, like if you have a data center, or just if you have 100 branches and they'll be using something in the cloud, and you need a service gateway there, or not service gateway, the cloud gateways there, then you have to go for the higher version license.
Yeah, so the cloud gateway, you need it for enabling the SaaS applications, right? To access the SaaS application. So what it does with the controller? I mean, like, is that a separate role for the controller?
Are you talking about the orchestrator?
No, it's the VeloCloud controller.
No, we have three components here: the VeloCloud edges, the orchestrator, and the service gateway. It will act as the controller as well. There is no different component called controller. So
is it okay?
So I'm a bit confused with that question.
That's fine.
So,
I mean, in your PPT, the gateway and controller. So I thought like it's completely.
It's the same device. It's the same device. That's just the difference in the name. It is the same gateway. Yeah. So because we'll be using this service gateway or the controllers to measure our link as well. That is the another thing we are doing with. So this will be available in all the versions of licenses. So it will be normal service gateway or controller. It is not a cloud gateway, right? So don't confuse with that. So everyone will get a service, the controller gateway, but only the premier license will get the cloud services or the cloud gateway. So by default, what we will be using, if you have two or three internet connections, we will be checking the connectivity to the gateways. That's how we check the quality of the internet lines. I hope it's answered.
Does anybody having any more questions? Sure, there is one more. What about the license subscription for each component and the warranty and support?
What about the license and subscription? Okay, so we have separate model, consumer model for SD-WAN solution. The first model is we have to pay for two things here. The first thing, of course, the hardware, and the subscription based on the bandwidths. So we have standard, enterprise, and premier licenses. So first of all, we have two models here. The prepaid model, the customer can purchase the hardware and they can keep paying for the subscription. It can be upfront or it can be monthly or yearly payment, or the customer can rent the device for 1 or 3 year terms, 1 to up to 3 year terms. So they'll be keeping a minimal amount every month or every year. I hope it's clear. Rajesh, we have any more further questions or we can wrap up the session?
I don't see any more questions. If anyone having any questions, kindly unmute and you can talk, or you can put it in the chat.
Yeah, sure. So you can send an email to Rajesh as well. I hope everyone will have email address of Rajesh. So if there is any concern, send an email to Rajesh, so he will share it with me. And about the presentation, I'll be sharing with Rajesh, right? So I'll share it with Rajesh and he will share with all of us, right?
Yeah, sure. I have everyone's contact details, so I can send an email with the links and recorded video and everything.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. So gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. And
Finally,
I
there is
hope.
one more question, I believe.
Okay.
It's from Venkata.
I don't see that question here.
He pinged me privately. Venkata, you can unmute and yeah, you can talk now. Venkata, you are unmute. You can talk.
Venkata, can you hear us? Or Rajat, can you forward that chat, or I mean forward that question so I can answer. So he might be hearing us. There might be some issue with his mic or something. So just text me that question, so I'll answer it.
No, he didn't put any question actually, but I cannot do. I can hear you. Okay, then you can put your question in the chat box so we can answer it.
Thank you, Pavan. Thank you very much. We have deployed appliance in vSphere on premise. That's great. That's great to hear that you guys already started working on VeloCloud, which is a new thing for us, right? It's our new baby, right? So it is. I'm really happy to hear that. So if you need any assistance, if you need any support at any time, you can contact me. So I'll be more than happy to support on this. Not just VeloCloud, anything which related to VMware. We are all VMware fans, boys. So anytime you can contact me the same way I can contact you. I hope I can contact you guys as well. We have a common group and we can put any questions there.